Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Haris Hakim Zunaidi, and today my friends and I will present to you about Soxhlet extraction. So, what is Soxhlet extraction actually? Have you heard about this? No? Yes. Soxhlet extraction is a technique that is used for extraction of analytes from solid components. This type of extraction also is used as an exhaustive extraction technique widely applied to analytes that are sufficiently thermally stable. This method is used to extract desired components that has a limited solubility in the solvent while the impurities is insoluble in the solvent. Actually, Soxhlet extraction was invented by a German agricultural chemist named Franz Ritter von Soxhlet in 1879. Why he designed this type of method? Because he has proposed a pasteurization method uh, for the milk and other beverage. This is used to make beverage from a solid component. This method is done by repeatedly boiling and condensing the extraction solvent through the matrix, and the sample is collected in the hot solvent. When we talk about a method, there must be a lot of apparatus involved in this method. So the Soxhlet extraction has Soxhlet extractor that consists of three main components. What are actually the three main components are? The first one is the percolator that consists of the boiler and the reflux that circulates around the solvent. The second main component is the thimble. Thimble is usually made of the thick filter paper that really function to retain the solid from the solvent which used to be extracted. And the last one, the last component is the siphon mechanism that continuously empties the thimble. And now my friend Azlan will explain more about the principle of the Soxhlet extraction.
So the principle of Soxhlet extraction, the Soxhlet extractor extract the component using the condensed vapors of the solvent. The condensed vapors meet with the sample and powder, and the soluble part in the powder gets mixed with the solvent. Soxhlet extraction assembly, it has a hot plate of iron to heat the round bottom flask containing the solvent. In this assembly of the round bottom flask that is placed on the hot plate, the distillation tube becomes a passageway that connects the round bottom flask with the condenser. For our better understanding, the upper part, it has a condenser that allows cool water to enter and exit for condensation to occur. Besides, the middle part that is called the thimble, also connected to the condenser. Another arm that is connected to the thimble and with the round bottom flask that is called the siphon tube. To conclude the principle of Soxhlet extractor, that is how the assembly of the extraction looks like. We also modify its basic assembly if needed to maximize its efficiency.
We need to know more about how the technique will be performed in the experiment and how it works to gain our sample. So I will give to Saudari Zulaika to explain more about the mechanism of the Soxhlet extraction.
Mechanism of Soxhlet extraction. The heat will be switched on first and the metal plate will be heated. The solvent in round bottom flask will then begins to boil. The distillation tube transport vapors from the round bottom flask to the condenser that condenses the solvent vapors. The condensed vapors then falls into the thimble. To prevent powder from dropping straight into the thimble, the sample powder is placed inside the thimble and covered from the bottom with the cotton ball. It is also covered from the top. So when the condensed vapors fall into the thimble, the powder becomes wet with the solvent and the components that are soluble in the solvent gets along with it. The thimble is linked to round bottom flask through siphon. The solvent mixture begins to fill the thimble and siphon until it reaches a point where it begins to overflow due to gravity. Because the siphon is directly connected to round bottom flask, the overflowing liquid returns to round bottom flask. This marks the first cycle. The cycle can be repeated multiple times to improve results.
Principle check. Mechanism also check. Next is, how do we use this type of method? So I give it to my friend Wan Azrai to explain more about Soxhlet extraction method step by step.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Wan Azrai Yafi bin Haridin, and today I'll be talking about the methods of using Soxhlet extraction. So the first method to start off is by drying and crushing the sample used into powder form by using a mortar to provide a greater surface area. Next is to begin by building a rig using stands and clamps to support the extraction apparatus. The solvent used, which is ethanol, 250 milliliters of it is added to a round bottom flask, which is attached to a Soxhlet extractor. The crushed sample is loaded into the thimble, which is placed inside the Soxhlet extractor. The side arm is slacked with glass wool or normal wool. The solvent is heated using the isomantle and will begin to evaporate, moving through the apparatus to the condenser. The condensate then drips into the reservoir containing the thimble. Once the level of solvent reaches the siphon, it pours back into the flask and the cycle begins again. This process should run for a total around 14 to 16 hours. Once the process has finished, the ethanol should be evaporated using a rotary evaporator, leaving a small yield of extracted sample material, about 2 to 3 milliliters, in the glass bottom flask. That's all from me. Thank you.
In any laboratory techniques in this world, there are lots of advantages and disadvantages. And I am sure that Soxhlet extraction have the pros and the cons. So I give it to my friend Asma to explain more about this.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Asma Najah binti Asrawadi, and I will explain to you the advantages and also the disadvantages in this extraction method. So as we all know, every method or every process have their own disadvantages and also advantages. So what is the advantages in this Soxhlet extraction method? So the first one is that they are a mechanically gentle process yet quite efficient extraction. This is to ensure that all of the analytes were extracted from the materials or solvent matrix. The second one is that they can perform elemental sulfur removal simultaneously. This is because the sulfur peaks will mask the other peaks of the compounds present in the sample, which is probably the one that we want to see. So it is better to remove the sulfur before doing any analysis, such as chromatographic analysis. So that is the advantages. The next one is the disadvantages of this extraction method. So the first one is that they are a lengthy process where it will takes up to more than 24 hours. This is because of the gentle process in this Soxhlet extraction. So it will take a longer time to get a complete pure sample. The second disadvantages is that they require azeotropic mixtures. This is to ensure that they are efficient extraction and also to get good results.